to the Zenaida Moya Show. I am your host, Zenaida Moya, and this show is being brought to you through the courtesy of Zitra International, Craven's Restaurant, Moya Shepherd and Company Limited, and Norte Vision. I want you to sit back, relax, and enjoy this very informative, empowering, and educational show. The objective is to ensure that we discuss in a very balanced manner national policies that affect all of us. It's geared towards ensuring the economic prosperity of Belize. As an economist, a former head of department in a government service, a trade union leader, and an elected official, I feel that it is very important to discuss issues that affect us as a nation. That is the only way we will be able to make the right decisions, regardless of political parties that we may be affiliated with, regardless if we are not affiliated with any political party. We must be able to discuss issues that affect us in an objective and balanced manner. Please note, however, that the views expressed during this show will be those of our guests and not necessarily those of myself or this channel. Tonight we will be discussing a very controversial issue, an issue that affects all of Belize. It deals with the stamping of our Belizean passport at the northern border, even when we as Belizeans would be visiting the casino that is located within Belizean border. We have with us two individuals who are going further to ensure that this matter is resolved in a manner that is favorable to Belizeans. They have been affected, and we will be hearing their side of this issue. We have with us businessman and resident of Orange Walk. On my immediate right, Mr. Rene Koya. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
And we have on my far right, also businessman and resident of Orange Walk, Mr. Giovanni de la Fuente. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Welcome to.
Welcome. We have two other individuals who will be discussing the issue. While they may not be back and forth at the border, we'll be discussing with them in a particular manner that will shed another light to it. On my far right, we have Dr. Glenn Errington. I've known him since 1999, and that's when I was studying in Detroit, Michigan, doing my master's degree. And Detroit is somewhat similar to Belize's situation in that Detroit also shares a border. They're right next to each other as it pertains to the Windsor, Canada area. There's a bridge there, Ambassador Bridge, and there's also a Detroit-Windsor tunnel. So back and forth we would traverse that area. So it's very similar, and we'll come back to that. We also have, so we're going to hear another perspective with a similar situation. We also have with us someone who will be discussing the international human rights law aspect to it. He's a former Chief of Staff of the Belize Defense Force, Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Shepherd. Will be using his knowledge and his training in his master's degree in military art and science, bachelor's of laws from Southern Eastern University in Stockport, England, graduate diploma in law from the College of Law of England and Wales in Guildford, England. And I'm saying this so you understand that we'll be having advocates, and we'll also be having persons who will also look at it in a legal and in another manner. He'll also be bringing forth from his studies areas that reflect this from his bar professional training course from the University of Law of England and Wales in London, England, and his studies in international human rights from Florida State University at Law, which he got to study through the International Bar Association, and again, international human rights law prospects and challenges at Duke University School of Law, and finally, through his course in strategy and international security at the William Perry Center for Hemispheric Studies in Washington, D.C. We'll be utilizing his knowledge and expertise to offer a holistic manner to this situation. Welcome to the show, Colonel.
Thanks.
All right. We'll also have a call-in segment from 9 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. We will be opening the lines. The line will be 302-2170. That will be shown around that time. You'll also get to text, and you'll also get to message through the Zenaida Moya Facebook page. So we want you to join in discussions. But before we go any further, I would like for the footage to be run from CTV3 news item that was aired and posted August 9, 2016, and it discusses the planned excursion by these two gentlemen on my right that was going to test the system of passing the border control point without presenting their passports to be stamped. Kindly roll that footage.
An excursion that will be taking place over the weekend will challenge Belizean immigration laws at the Santa Elena border, which requires all Belizeans to have their passports stamped upon leaving and entering the country. Orange Walk residents Giovanni de la Fuente and Rene Cuello are of the conviction that Belizeans should be able to move through Belizean borders without having to get their passports stamped when leaving and entering the country. Today, both men visited our morning show, Despierta Belize, and explained the rationale behind their standpoint.
I find it strange when going to this area where you find the casinos, not the free zone, the casinos. I find it strange that the immigration authorities at the Santa Elena border, they insist that you need to stamp. Now, I don't understand the rationale or the reason for wanting a Belizean to stamp his passport when you're going to the casino area. The casino area is not located in Mexico, and it's not located in the free zone. And so I join up with my friend here, and one of his first priority is to establish to the Belizean people, the public at large, and I know it affects a lot of people going to the casino area. So one of the first things that he has endeavored to do is to establish to the Belizean people that as Belizeans, when you are visiting the casino area, you are not leaving Belize. Therefore, you do not need to stamp your passport. As we spoke to before, the three fundamental rights, the freedoms of speech, freedom of association, and freedom of movement. So I believe that as long as I am not leaving the country of Belize, I should not need to stamp my passport. So I don't understand why the immigration authorities at the Santa Elena border are insisting that you stamp your passport when you go into the casino. Coming every day, every morning, and I don't have anything against the Mexicans. The Mexicans, I believe, and the Mexican government has treated Belize nicely. I don't have anything against the Mexicans. But every morning, 200 or 300 Mexicans come across to the casino.
To prove their point, the men are planning an excursion to the Santa Elena border over the weekend. During this trip, the idea is to cross the northern border without having one's passport stamped.
We are embarking on an expedition to go to the casino,
Okay.
and we will not be stamping our passports. And so we are here today to invite the general public. If you have been affected, if you are interested, Mr. Koyo will leave his telephone number. And if you are interested in being a part of this group that will be visiting the casino shortly and will not be stamping the passports, please feel free to call Mr. Koyo and we will link up. And we will be going to the casino. What we are here to tell the people today is that an expedition is coming up shortly. We will not be leaving Belize. And so we have no intention of handing in a passport and requesting permission to leave, because we are not leaving Belize. We are going to the casino area, which is located in Belize. And so what we are doing, we are testing the system, because through previous conversations, we have been informed that you need to stamp to go to the casino. So we will be officially testing the system to see if this is true. And if this is true, then in effect, Belizeans are being barred from traveling
Their own country.
their own country.
The trip will be taking place this Saturday, August 13, 2016 at 1 p.m. Anyone interested in joining the group on their excursion are asked to contact Rene Cuello at phone number 670-6074 for further information.
All right, you just saw the footage, courtesy of CTV3, and we know that that particular excursion did not go. Mr. Cuello, what is happening at the northern border? We heard that, we saw that, but we know that it's a situation that you have moved another step further, and hence the reason that excursion did not go. What is happening that you feel has been happening to impede your right to free movement within Belize along this particular northern border control point?
What is happening?
Yes.
Well, I guess it's an old law, no? It's an old colonial law that they don't want to get rid of. We should have gotten rid of that law when we got our independence, because we are a democracy.
Yes.
A democratic country has 3 fundamental freedoms, meaning it's of core importance to have those 3 freedoms, which is freedom of speech, association, and movement. Right? You're supposed to be able to leave and enter your country at any time. You're supposed to be able to come into your country at any time once you prove you're a Belizean. Not being harassed and being arrested, being charged, right? Like any other immigrant.
Yes.
I'll give you an example. When they had the murder at the San Ignacio Hotel, somewhere around there,
Yes.
and they caught the Guatemala fisherman in the river, and they took him in. Well, he was innocent, no. He had nothing to do with it. With it. They charged him for illegal entry, $1,000. Now, if you go to Chetumal and you don't stamp, and you come in, and the immigration grabs you, it's $1,000. They charge you, right? And I guess that's totally out of order, right?
Yes.
We must do something about it. And if you go to the border right now, it doesn't look like a normal border. It is a militarized checkpoint, right?
Yes.
That's the way it looks.
So it doesn't look welcoming
No,
at all.
it does not look welcoming. It
like
looks
we're at war.
intimidating.
Yes.
Right? And that's why we postponed the trip. We didn't know they had so much power, right?
Yes.
That they put a checkpoint on us on Calcutta village, and they had the whole squad of military police-like at the border, right? So we wouldn't be able to access the Rio Hondo. You know?
Yes.
Like when you go to the Sarstoon, you have the Guatemalans stopping you and telling you you need permission to go into Sarstoon. At least you are in the Sarstoon.
Yes.
This one, you're not even in the Rio Hondo.
Yeah.
And they stop you and they want to arrest you.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's totally out of order.
Mr. De La Fuente,
Yes.
why have you also made it your business to ensure that you're fighting this fight to ensure that the free movement of yourself and Belizeans are in fact protected, and really to liberalize the free movement along this particular border control area? I mean, I've heard certain persons say, man, just take your passport and hand it in.
Yeah.
Why do you feel the need that you ought not to do that?
Well, some people that believe I just idle. But no, that more than idle. But I believe that this should be a minor matter and easy to fix. As Belizeans, we have been taught that we are the owners of 8,867 square miles. And the last time I checked, it was still so. I think that my involvement started because of the many times I visit that particular area, and then I get fed up at their people. I'm not leaving my country. Every time I left, then they stamp out my passport. Belize are one of the few countries you could literally stamp out your passport, exit stamps, without leaving the country, you know. You could fill your passport.
Only one, not
You
one of
could
them.
fill your passport with exit stamps and never leave the country. I get enough of that. The immigration department down in St. Helena, they're insisting. I see them harassing Belizeans on a daily basis, and myself, I have been harassed. When we go down to Sarstoon, there is no immigration down there. They don't want to harass the Guatemalans. They want to harass the Belizeans down here at St. Helena border. Fine. I am not leaving Belize. The free zone, the casino, the private dwellings. You have private houses in this area, you know. People live there, private. I have a good friend that lives in between the immigration office and the Rio Hondo. I believe it is my constitutional right. And if I want to visit that area, no immigration person should interfere with me. I am not leaving Belize. If I want to go fishing at the Rio Hondo, that is my business. If I just want to take a walk, that is also my business. Now, you will hear them say that there are designated exit points.
Yes.
And St. Helena border is one. Well, they don't listen to what they're saying. These are designated exit points, but I am not exiting.
Do you believe, speaking on that, do you believe the moving of the border control point that used to be where the Princess Casino is, and moving it back into Belize, moving it back further, do you think that has helped this situation, or has it been perhaps one of the reasons why this situation is, is such that the authorities feel, they have to step in? Because over on the Mexican side, their border control area is almost close to their border. Now we have closer, all right? We have ours further back.
No, Miss Moya, you have it wrong.
Go ahead, go ahead.
You have the map there.
Yes, we have
I
the
can
map.
show
Could
you.
you show the map, please? The map, and then you'll
You
see.
can go into Mexico as far as you can come out of Belize before you reach there.
Yes,
Is
so
it?
we have the Mexican
All right.
immigration customs.
Right.
It's right.
You see the river there? All right, they are way down there. That's a good distance.
No. But our border
No.
is way further back. Our Belize
new-
immigration
see,
customs.
this is a new road, see? You see? This is the old immigration.
Right.
They are not there anymore.
I should have showed this one.
They are not there anymore.
This one.
They are here.
Right.
You come all the way here. You see how much you go into Mexico with, and you can return without anybody tell you anything. Right.
On that map, okay. So you'll have to look at the
You
arrow.
see the bridge?
You'll have to look at the arrow.
That's where Mexico starts. The bridge, where the bridge is where Mexico starts.
The river.
So you go down at least a quarter of a mile or more into Mexico territory.
A quarter of a mile.
Yes, or more.
At least a
at
quarter
least.
of a mile.
And then if you reach there and you don't have a document, that you forgot your document, you can return to Belize, right? But don't forget your Belizean document.
So-
Otherwise you can't come out. You
So-
can't come in. Right?
So what you're saying here, because
That's the old
this
immigration.
is the map. This is a map that used to be used. You're saying they have
Yeah.
since moved it.
Yes, that you see, you
Okay,
have
so
the
I'm hoping
That's
people
the
got to
basic
see, all right, via the arrow, correct?
Right.
Okay, all right. So
the Mexican immigration is not at the river anymore. That's removed from there.
so when they go in now, you feel that there should be absolutely no reason to hand over your passport for it. Hold on, we're supposed to go to an ad break. So before I go into that question, let us go to our first ad break.
A relaxing and safe environment with your family and friends at affordable prices with excellent customer service. We are located at Mile 1 on the Philip Golson Highway across from Gonzalo Quinto and Sons. Call us at 667-2200 for orders and deliveries. Cravings, where patience equals fresh food.
The circle starts with solid support and a smile. This is real life, with its ups and its downs. This is going the extra mile, and the feeling you get when you can help someone along their journey. Through the twists and turns, we're here. This is Western Union, making sure your support reaches its destination. This is Western Union, moving money for better.
All right. Before we went to break, we were discussing the actual location, and Mr. Cuero mentioned that even there was a riot. You said around 2 years ago
Yeah.
when the Mexican border point was moved further.
Yeah, right.
All right. So where it was before, it was moved further. All right. As I told you, there are some of us who don't frequent the area often. That includes myself. So while this issue would affect all of us, once we get to traverse that area, it will affect, I believe, those in Corozal probably and Orange Walk who frequent the area
Yes.
more often. And I'm sure there's other persons who probably go to the border a lot as well.
But who made riot was the Mexicans.
The Mexicans made the
because
riot.
they had the business. They were doing business there when
Yes.
the Belizeans used to go across. Now,
Yes.
when they remove it, we don't go over there anymore. So they lost
Oh,
business.
wow.
Right? They lost big time.
Yes.
And they made a strike for about 2-3 days. And it was a done deal, right?
And so that's why I wanted to bring this up. Dr. Errington, as I mentioned, and we're going to come back to this, but I wanted to try and discuss the situation just briefly. The Detroit, Michigan, and the Windsor, Ontario, Canada situation. You have Canada and you have the US. You have a bridge or a tunnel that you can go over back and forth, no? Do we have this situation right now? Because as I told you, during my time when I was studying over there, I used to go back and forth, just like what Mr. Rene Cuello has been doing. And I'd like to ask them to also thereafter, they'll also run a footage with Mr. Cuello when he's in his vehicle attempting to go, past
Yes,
the
to the
border
free
point.
zone.
Because what happened is that's exactly what I used to do. Back and forth, exactly what he's doing. I used to do that. The only difference is I was going over to another country. You
Yes.
were merely trying to go
Through,
within
yes.
Belize, but you have to pass that border point. Dr. Errington, why do you feel, is there any problems as we speak when it comes to that situation? I want to see, because we have problems here in Belize, but is there any between the Canadians and the Americans?
Well, at the current time,
Yes.
there are very strict rules across many borders in the world, not just Detroit, Canada, or the USA, Mexico.
Yes.
Most borders, most countries have some kind of control on their borders. Now,
Okay.
they decide, I think it's an internal matter at one level, and then there's also international regulations that apply. International treaties, international rules, regulation, conventions. So that different countries might decide that they want to just look at your passport before you leave.
Okay.
Whereas another country might decide that it wants to put a stamp in. So I think particular attention must be paid to the local laws.
But do you think Belizean authority should be hindering Belizeans from vacationing within their own country versus going to a wealthier country and even a wealthier state? Quintana Roo is wealthier. But instead of doing so, we have these Belizeans that are trying to stay right within Belize and vacation. After all, whilst we have Cancun alone, I believe that their Yucatan Times mentioned that for 2016 they had 6.2 million tourists.
21 million.
Is that for the entire Cancun?
Cancun area.
I got this from the Yucatan Times, no?
21
So-
million visited Quintana Roo State.
We're 1 million, well, really 1.29 million for Belize. Do you think we should be hindering or impeding our own Belizeans to vacation within our own borders?
I absolutely do not believe that the authorities are actually hindering. I don't believe that. I know that these laws, whatever, even when we talk about freedom of speech, when we talk about freedom of association or freedom of movement, these rights are not absolute rights, which means that because I am in Belize, I could be anywhere in Belize. I can't be anywhere. I can't be in your house. I can't be in your bathroom. I can't be in your bedroom. So the laws are not absolute. There are definitely, whenever they write them, they put in all the little exceptions. They make sure that they document exactly what you may do under the law and what you may not do. So they are not absolute. That's one point. Now, in this particular case, my question is it an issue with the geography of where the casino itself is located? Because I know in Belize City or in San Ignacio, in other casinos in Belize, you don't have this problem where you have to go anywhere near immigration. Now, some casinos ask for ID, and they some might want to hold the ID or look at the ID or something like that. So they all have little regulations. But I am wondering if this particular situation is because of where the physical location of the building is.
Well,
If that is causing the problem.
Mr. Ellington,
That's my question.
I'd like to give you a little correction on the security of borders. They are not made for your own people. They are made for foreigners. You are going into another man's country, they check you. Not your own country. In your country, you should be able to come in, leave and enter.
Freely.
Just like the Mexicans. I want to take you to the border and show you what is freedom of movement. If you are going to the state, most naturally. If you're going to Panama, most naturally.
Yes.
But if in your country, you don't have to do that.
And speaking of, I mean, this movement, in this era where we're trying to further, well, some people are trying to further globalization, some are not. Free trade, they're trying to further free movement, of persons, whether for visitations or whether for work, as is being done within CARICOM and Central America. What you mentioned just now, do you feel, I mean, I hear your views, do you feel that Belize should be keeping such laws on the book if in fact persons such as Mr. Cuellar and Mr. De La Fuente, and I'm certain it must be thousands of other Belizeans, feel that they are being restricted, that their rights are being violated, their right for free movement is being violated? Do you feel that those laws should be kept on the books?
Well, as was mentioned before, there was an old colonial law. Now, if you have any law and the people does not necessarily mean one or two individuals. Many times people assume that if I disagree with something, I am the people. The people is collective. It's more than just that. But the people have the right, they have the opportunity, they have the ability to work with their legislators and try to get it changed. That's an easy way, if you think a law is not proper.
Correct.
There's a second way. You could take it to court. Sometimes the court looks at these laws and they will say, okay, this is against the Constitution or this is against natural justice, etc. And that's why you have the courts to look at these laws. You see, there's nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong with a citizen saying, I don't like this action here. That's okay. There are ways to do it and to deal with it. And sometimes, which is interesting, sometimes you may go to the several different courts, going all the way, appeal to the final level that you could get to, and you may still not get the point that you want. But somebody has to make a decision, and that's how countries are. Countries have certain rights.
Yes.
They have certain responsibilities. And one of them is that countries can make laws. They can tax people. So they can do certain things. Again, I want to emphasize, I have been to casinos in Belize, and we didn't have to pass through any immigration point. So I am asking again, is this particular case have anything at all to do with where the building is? That's all I'm asking.
I believe it is.
It
So
must-
definitely,
yes.
that's the reason.
Has to be.
Otherwise, for example, we would go to the casino in Belize City. I believe they go to one in San Ignacio. But we have no problem.
Okay,
No problem.
in layman terms that I have understood what I read, no? Okay. We have this freedom of movement in our constitution. Certain restrictions, but there's none at the border. And none of them says you have a stamp. None of them says you have a check with immigration. They just give you a reason why. Right? Then, in the International Covenant for Political and Civil Rights that Belize ratified in 1996, because immigration law is controlled by international law, right? It has to do with it. Declaration of Universal Declaration of Human Rights and freedom of movement is one. So you can see here, see, this is the permissible government restriction that they assign to. This is the only way you should stop me. But we are not doing that. You're stopping me for nothing, right?
Yes.
And you can see it here. Only persons who have been convicted of crimes, most conspicuously in the context of imprisonment. Restrictions may also be placed on convicted criminals who are on probation, who have been released on parole. Persons who have been charged with crime and have been released on bail may also be prohibited on traveling. A material witness may also be denied the right to travel. All right? So none of these say you must check with immigration. That's an immigration colonial law that needs to be removed. We must do it by force.
Exactly, this discussion, whilst there may be certain things in law or on the law books, every citizen have a right to advocate to either amend that law or to get it repealed. And you mentioned about representatives. We are governed, we have a government, and we have area representatives that represent us. We're gonna go to an ad break, and when we come back, I want to bring in Mr. Shepherd to discuss about what can be done and the laws governing freedom of movement. And I'm also going to ask both of you gentlemen about how Mexicans and other visitors are treated when visiting or coming to shop at our Corozal Free Zone at the northern border. Stay tuned. Buying or selling land can be a daunting experience. Don't leave things to chance. When buying or selling land in Belize, seek the professional real estate services of Moya Shepherd and Company Limited. Benefit from our extensive local and international real estate network to find your dream home or to move your property from selling to sold. We are located at 5 miles Philip Golson Highway. Give us a call at 223-4465 or visit us at www.realestatebz.com.
The circle starts with solid support and a smile. This is real life. With its ups and its downs. This is going the extra mile. And the feeling you get when you can help someone along their journey. Through the twists and turns, we're here. This is Western Union, making sure your support reaches its destination. This is Western Union, moving money for better.
Come and dine at our Belizean-owned restaurant for your hunger cravings. We offer a variety of fried and grilled finger foods and local dishes. We also do catering and host small socials and children's parties. Enjoy a relaxing and safe environment with your family and friends at affordable prices with excellent customer service. We are located at Mile 1 on the Philip Golson Highway across from Gonzalo Quinto and Sons. Call us at 667-2200 for orders and deliveries. Cravings, where patience equals fresh food.
Welcome back to the Zenaida Moya Show. I am your host, Zenaida Moya, and I have in studios with us, on my right, Messrs. Rene Cuellar and Giovanni de la Fuente, and on my left, Lieutenant Colonel retired Raymond Shepard and Dr. Glenn Errington. Just a little point of correction, and if any of you watching can show otherwise, I would be happy to get that correction. But I had mentioned that I had read the Yucatan Times, and in it they had mentioned that their Cancun also stands as a second destination in the arrival of tourists, with the arrival of 6.2 million people, no? And that's according to the Convention and Visitors Bureau. So, but if you have any other figure that goes against that, I would be happy to inform, no? But yes, before we had gone to the ad break, we were speaking about, we were moving into the direction of the legal side, no? And we wanted to discuss the laws governing the freedom of movement, and even the Constitution, you know. There's also a sign that you had showed me whereby it was, there's a sign. So if the technicians can go ahead and put that sign so we can read it, because we also want to discuss that particular sign that was at the border, because that also plays a role in our discussion. Mr. Shepard, go ahead.
Yes, as Mr. Cuellar rightly mentioned, the primary piece of international legislation that governs the freedom of movement.
That's enough with the time. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Is the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. This covenant gives persons their freedom of movement within their country, and gives them the freedom of movement to leave and enter their country. The particular article of relevance right here is Article 12 of that covenant. And that covenant, Article 12, read, everyone lawfully within the territory of a state shall, within that territory, have the right to liberty of movement and freedom to choose his residence. So this is basically saying that they have the right to travel wherever within the country and to choose whether they want to reside in that country or not. And part 2 of that says that everyone shall be free to leave any country, including his own. While this article provides citizens with the freedom of movement, it is a limited right. It's not an absolute right, because it must be balanced with the right of other citizens. So you might have the right to, let's say, strike out your hand, but that right is limited to where it does not hit the other person, because then it violates that person's right. So while we have rights, we have obligations too. So that right is not absolute, and it is limited and subjected to provisions that makes for derogation from that right. So like Mr. Errington mentioned earlier, that while you have the right, it's not an absolute right that you could go wherever you want in the country. And the same article that provides you with that right to freedom provides the state with the right to restrict that freedom. And that is the Section 3, which reads, the above mentioned rights shall not be subject to any restrictions except those which are provided by law. So if you make a restriction, it must be provided by law. You just can't come with a policy and say, well, this is what we're going to do today. It must be by law, and it must be gazetted so that everyone knows what the law is. And so we say it must be provided by law and are necessary to protect national security, public order, public health, or public morals, or the rights and freedom of others, and are consistent with other rights recognized in the present convention. Article 12 is not one of the non-derogable rights in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. There are certain articles that there can be no derogation. It is as it is, strict law. Bringing it home, the piece of legislation that gives citizens of Belize the right to freedom of movement is the Constitution. And I'll read the protection of fundamental rights and freedom. Section 3 says that whereas every person in Belize is entitled to the fundamental rights and freedoms of the individual, that is to say, the right, whatever his race, place of origin or political opinions, color, creed, or sex, but subject to respect for the rights and freedom of others, and for the public interest, to each and all of the following, and it names the different circumstances from A to H. But of particular interest I want to mention here is Article 10. Which says a person shall not be deprived of his freedom of movement, that is to say, the right to move freely throughout Belize, the right to reside in any part of Belize, the right to enter, the right to leave Belize, and immunity from expulsion from Belize. And of particular relevance also is subsection 3, which says nothing contained in or done under any law shall be held to be inconsistent with or in contravention of this section, to the extent that law in question makes reasonable provision for the restrictions in cases of circumstances A to H. The one of particular relevance is for the imposition of restrictions on the movement or residence within Belize, or the right to leave Belize of persons generally, or any class of persons in the interest of defense, public safety, public order, public morality, or public health, or in respect of the right to leave Belize, of securing compliance with any international obligation or government. So it states there where the government can make law to derogate from the rights to freedom to movement. And it specifies that in instances of national security, and one of the instances where I see the government could make restrictions right here is the part that says of securing compliance with any international obligation of the government. So you as a citizen have the right to freedom, but the government is under international obligation to satisfy those treaties, or they will be sanctioned. So that could also be in the interest of public. Mm-hmm. So, but it says that whatever restrictions we make must be reasonable for the circumstances. So it's not a blanket a permission. It must be reasonable. So the case here all boils down to the word reasonableness. Is it reasonable for the immigration officer to ask you for a stamp? Mm-hmm. If the circumstances shows that it's not, then whatever they are doing is unlawful and illegal.
Mm-hmm. I had asked for a sign. Really, it's a notice. They had showed the wrong side, but I wanted it. But it's a notice that that was at the border, no?
Yes.
And this notice had read, and I'll ask.
Yes,
okay, it's right there. So that's it. That's a notice. Yes, that's a sign. So this was there, and it read, "The general public. It is hereby notified that every person departing Belize from the immigration control (bracket) visitors to the free zone, casino included, must be in possession of a valid travel document, i.e., passport, border permit, or digital border cards. Voter ID cards, social security they spell security wrong, but social security cards and other such forms of identification will not be accepted. Mr. Shepherd, what do you think of this? They're saying voter ID cards and social security cards and other. Is it? I mean, when they speak about travel documents and passport, valid travel document, they're speaking about a passport or this digital border cards.
Yeah, let me refer to the interpretation section of the Immigration Act, and this provides the meaning of passport. And it reads, passport means a valid passport referring to the person producing it, furnished with a photograph of such person and duly issued to him by or on behalf of the government of the country of which he is a subject or citizen, and for a period which, according to the laws of that country, has not expired, and includes, and this is the important part, and includes a certificate of identity or a travel permit and any other document establishing to the satisfaction of the immigration officer the nationality and identity of a person or persons to whom it refers. So contrary to a popular belief when they say passport, it's not necessarily the passport book. It covers anything that could identify you as the person and that you are a national of Belize. So your social security is, for the purposes of the Immigration Act, a passport.
Okay, so this notice
is unconstitutional.
Exactly. This notice, they need to deal with
I
this
was fighting
notice.
to take it off.
Yes.
You know what they did? It was inside the building first.
They put it outside.
And when I started campaigning against it, they took it outside so I can read it.
So that
Yeah.
right there is
Unconstitutional.
unconstitutional. They really need to
Well, it violates the
And you know what they do with these stamps?
Immigration Act.
You know what they
Yes.
do with the stamps, Doctor? They just use it to humiliate the Belizeans. When you come into your country, they take and they search to see if you have a stamp going out and you didn't stamp coming in. You didn't stamp going. You don't know I can arrest you for this? You don't know I can charge you for this?
Man,
That's all they use stamp for.
it's terrible.
And they search your passport like, you know, like,
And
I can't
Well,
even
the
imagine.
Immigration Act provides that it's an offense to leave the country or enter the country without a valid passport.
And in this case, there
Without a
won't
valid
be.
passport or without a valid stamp in a valid passport.
Passport. That is stamp. It
We're
doesn't
talking
mention
about the
anything
stamp.
There's
Well,
nothing
that's-
about stamp.
And in
The
this
stamp- the
case,
stamp
they would not
itself
be leaving the
violates-
country.
Yeah, the stamp itself violates international covenant for the civil and political rights, Article 12.
So
Because
we,
in effect, the stamp is what you refer to as a visa, exit visa.
Right.
That is what
You
the
got
stamp
it,
basically
yeah,
is, an
right.
exit visa, and that violates the freedom of movement.
see,
Right.
it's not a challenge or an obstacle to present the travel document if you are exiting.
Right.
You identify yourself, but it's a travel document with a stamp in it. No, that's a different thing. When you give somebody a document, the immigration officer at a control point, you give them this, they will look at it and decide whether they will give you permission to leave the country. And if they look at it and say, you know what, I think I want to give Mr. Arlington permission to leave, then they take out their stamp and they will stamp it.
Ridiculous.
So in effect, when you hand them your passport today, you are asking them permission to leave because they want to see your passport, not to look at it. They want to see it and determine whether they will stamp or not.
And put any stamp on it. Visitors permit, visitors leaving, whatever.
And then this, speaking about the sign that you had up,
Yes.
it says any Belizean exiting.
Right.
And the point we are on tonight is
Not.
That you're
we
not
are not exiting. And
Correct.
also for Mr. Arlington, he said that, it's not absolute. Freedom of movement is not absolute. And he used
Right, it's
these
subject.
examples like somebody bathroom, somebody bedroom, and somebody parlor. Well, I could understand that, I could understand
Private
that it's not my duty to be in your bedroom or your parlor, but we are talking about this whole 1 mile from where the immigration office
Public-
is today to the Rio
public
Hondo
space.
River.
So,
That is a public space.
so if they put the immigration checkpoint in Corozal, you have some permission.
Yes, they could decide to put it here at Trial Farm.
Yes.
And then if they put it at Trial Farm, then you can pass Trial Farm according to them. This
But what is relevant here is also in the interpretation section of the Immigration Act. And it speaks about immigration with the E. And it says that immigrant means a person who leaves Belize for a place outside Belize, whether for the first or any subsequent time, while an immigrant means a person who enters Belize from a place outside, whether for the first
With the immigrants and
or
immigrants, you see?
any subsequent time. So contrary to popular belief where an immigrant is somebody from another nation, this is saying that once you leave Belize,
You are an
you're
immigrant.
you leave. Right. But the particular part here for this discussion is that you guys are not leaving Belize.
no.
So this does not apply, where it says that once you're leaving Belize, you must present a passport.
Right.
And if you did not leave, then you cannot enter.
And if
so
you go-
you're not, when you come back, where they say that you have to present a passport, that is only when you leave Belize.
And apart from that, if you go to the free zone and you decide, you change your mind and you want to go to Mexico,
That between
do
you and
you
the
have to
Mexican.
go back and ask the immigration permission to go to Chetumal?
Right, and that is because of the international obligation they have. I mentioned earlier that there's a protocol. It's called the Protocol Against Smuggling of Migrants. And it's an international thing. So governments signed up to these treaties and they're obligated to carry out certain things. And this particular protocol has very demanding obligations on all governments to ensure that their control are exercised at all exit and entry points, that they are able to identify the person and the person's nationality.
Well,
Which also
I would
happen
like to-
in airports.
I'd like to take you to the border to let you to show you how the Mexicans pass their border, just to get an
That's what-
example.
Well, I want to
But that is
discuss
what the
that.
Mexicans, probably the Mexicans choose to do that and are not really paying
No,
much
that is
attention
that
to.
is freedom of movement.
Yeah, but it has to be balanced with the obligation for
They know
to
you as a
prevent-
Belizean can't go there.
freedom of movement is a right, but human trafficking is also, the person has to be protected from human right. So you have to balance that
Well, I have
freedom of
always
movement
said-
with the right to the person who is being smuggled.
I have always said that they can ask you for an ID. I have never said they should not ask you for an ID
But
if
you
they
don't want to
don't
be
if they don't
stumping
know
and
you,
all
right?
that, right?
Right?
Right, they
If
must
they
be
do-
able to
but if you're
identify
passing
you.
there and he knows you, right?
Yes,
You know?
people, I mean, as we had discussed before, I mean, first of all, discretion. People should be able to use their discretion, but in this case, I believe maybe the way we have to look at it is actually amending or repealing that particular section, no?
Because as you can
I
see,
want to bring up this situation with the Mexicans though. How are the Mexicans and visitors treated when visiting or coming to shop at the Corozal Free Zone or visiting the casino? What's the situation?
well, at the free zone,
Yes.
they are treated good because they don't have to check with no one.
Okay.
When they are coming into Belize, when they reach our
Mm-hmm.
checkpoint, well, that's another matter. They don't want to come
Okay.
because they have so much restrictions on them. The only Mexicans that come here are the ones that who come and do business, collect money from
Yes.
Belizeans. But they don't come and visit.
Yes.
A Mexican supposed to have the freedom of movement to come to Corozal and spend a weekend, you know? Easy one.
So do you think
Yeah.
that so what you're saying that possibly that is definitely affecting possibly not only the Corozal Free Zone but even this northern area,
Yes.
Belize in general.
It's affecting Belize in general. I heard the Honorable Jose May speaking about it this morning in the Despierta Belize program. We should welcome the Mexicans. But they need a passport. They need insurance for their vehicle. They need to pay $37.50 for their vehicle to come into Belize. You know. We already have nothing to offer them, and we are restricting them.
So you see all of these things, and why I'm asking these questions is because in such a situation whereby I believe we need as many visitors, investment, more
Right,
jobs,
sure.
more opportunities to our people. I believe that this situation definitely needs to be looked at in a manner whereby it will be in the economic interests of Belizeans. We're going to open the lines now, so whoever wants to call in, they can call in.
On another point,
So
Zenaida,
perhaps they can show the phone number.
if the Mexicans come here, right, as you cross the northern border, you have a checkpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And they stop you and search you. How are you going to feel welcome in a country like this? When we go to Cancun,
Mm-hmm.
they have about 4 checkpoints.
Yes.
Nobody stops you. No one stops you. They'll let you pass through. Right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not there to stop the traffic.
Well, Ms. Zenaida, you brought up a good point when you asked about the movement of Mexicans as it relates to Belize.
Yes.
I think you have to look at 2 things. One is the fact that we have foreigners, my brother, we have foreigners
Yes.
entering Belize without producing any travel documents. On a daily basis, you got 200-300 Mexicans, and I have nothing against them.
We want them to come in.
You could witness 200-300 foreigners entering Belize without producing any travel document on a daily basis.
The point with that is that for the purpose of immigration, they have not entered Belize until they reach the entry point, which is set back.
So are you telling me that when they cross the Rio Hondo River, they are not yet in Belize?
For the purposes of immigration.
For
right?
the purpose of immigration.
Until they reach the immigration.
Until they
entry
reach
point.
the immigration checkpoint.
Right.
All right. So daily, you got. So Belize has basically given away
give up some
a
of
mile.
it. Right.
Man, no
For
one the
purpose-
Guatemala want the end because they see we have given up to Mexico a mile here. No wonder they want that piece.
Yeah, but giving up is just in the for the
Yeah,
cases
immigration.
of immigration. So
All
we
right.
still exercise
We understand
sovereignty.
that. We
So,
understand.
brother,
We understand
watch it.
that.
So,
we have nothing against
They
that.
have access freely.
Right.
Now, as a Belizean, if I want to go into that same
Similarly,
area,
similarly, when we are going across to Chetamal, all that point between the bridge and their immigration point,
yes,
we have free access to that without checking
Right.
the immigration.
Right.
then when, as a Belizean, I want to access that same area, I have to give my travel document and ask if I can enter.
You didn't show the
Now the
footage when they
Mexicans,
stopped you?
them, they most, I would have said 95% of the Mexicans that visit Belize, they don't pass the point of the free zone.
They didn't show
Right.
the footage when they
They
stopped
don't
you.
come
That's
to
a good
the
thing, you know.
to the immigration
The restriction, they haven't seen it.
office. It seems to me like they stay in another area.
I would like them to show the footage. It was to be the second footage whereby Mr. Rene Cuellar is in his vehicle
Okay.
at the border control point. Could you run that footage?
He was prohibited from
Yes.
exiting.
Right.
Yes.
I informed the immigration officer that I was going to the casino, to recreate, to the swimming pool, no? And they put down the bar, said I can't go.
Yeah. No. Has that finished? Are they hearing us or no?
And I informed the officer that I was going to the casino to recreate, no, to the swimming pool. And he told me I had to go in and stamp. And I told him I'm not going to stamp because I'm not leaving Belize. So, and he said, no, you have to see the other guy there. And he went inside to get 2 more immigration officers. About 10 to 15 minutes we were there. And the other 2 female immigration officers came out like, like Nazis. Huh? Came at me, we are warning you, Mr. Cuellar. So I returned their warning. I told them, I'm warning you because you are violating my constitutional right. And then they sent for policemen to come and arrest me, right? And I called my lawyer, Mr. Ellington, and he explained to me, you know what, Mr. Koyo, just comply with him and we'll take it to court, right? So after that, my wife went and she got the useless permit stamp, right?
Temporary border
Yes,
permit.
so we went and we were in the swimming pool about half an hour later, after I was in the swimming pool, the border management came with 3 police on a quadruped vehicle there. You know, like a common criminal.
Yes.
But they came to me with nice ways.
You're just recreating
Right.
with your family.
Yeah.
In Belize.
In
Yes,
Belize.
So they came, but they didn't show me no. They were totally with me, right? But they said the port commander wanted to prosecute me because of what I did, right? So after that, the Tuesday, I received a summons to go to court in Corozal for obstruction of traffic, right? So when we went, Tuesday to Thursday, when I went Thursday to the magistrate court, the police withdrew the case. Said, Your Honor, we'd like to withdraw the case. So I felt good, and I thought I was free, right? Next week, Tuesday, another summons for the same thing, right? So I called the clerk of courts and I told her, Miss, look, I just went there Thursday, man. I am a busy man. I can't go there this Thursday again. So please tell the magistrate I want an adjournment. I didn't get back to her. I thought it was a done deal. So I went to the border the weekend, because every weekend I go there. And the Monday I took my time and I called the clerk of courts and I asked her, what happened? When is my next date for the court? He said, you don't have another date. You have a bench warrant.
Wow. Wow.
So I went there the next day with my attorney, and you know, it is something so frivolous. It's a $50 ticket, $100 ticket, but I want to stand on principle that I will not accept it,
Yes.
no matter what it costs me. So I went there with my attorney, and we spoke with the magistrate, and they gave us another date. At the same time, we were preparing to take them to court for violating my constitutional right. And when the magistrate saw the affidavit, well, she told me to leave. No? I don't have to go back there. We're taking it to the Supreme Court. And that's where we stand. They made it for the 15th of December. We went there, we had kickbacks. And then my attorney told me, the 22nd of February, Mr. Koyo will have this case. So we'll see what happened. And I am confident that this foolish law will be removed.
Well, we are hoping. Remember, the lines are open. 302-2170 if you want to call. 302-2170. Mr. Shepherd, as it regards security, it is said that drug trafficking, money laundering, and human trafficking are issues that the authorities have to deal with, and therefore have to try and control at the border and within the Corozal Free Zone, right? Would a relaxing of the current controls place undue risk in allowing for such drug trafficking, money laundering, and human trafficking?
Most naturally. Because as we noticed from 9/11, there has been an increase in security measures throughout the world. And even now, one of the pressing issues is the matter of terrorist financing. So all of them linked together with drug trafficking, human smuggling, brings additional pressure on government to control who are exiting, who are entering their country. So if we have, let's say, a condition where Belizeans are allowed to just pass the border point without properly identifying themselves.
That's not what we say.
Yeah, but once you open it, there will be loopholes. So and it must be distinct
It's
because
the stamp.
what
The stamp.
Oh, the stamp is the problem, not
Stamp
identifying.
is the
Not
problem.
identifying,
The
right.
stamp is the problem, not
Right.
the identification process. The stamp. Because when you give them the passport today, you are effectively asking them, please give me one stamp so I can travel. And that is not right. The identification is okay. It's the application for a visa to travel in your own country.
Right, and I concur that that is an illegal act. It violates Article 12 of the International Convention, a covenant against the civil rights and political rights of persons. However, as mentioned, the government has the right, because of its obligation, to impose restrictions on persons who are leaving the border point. And for practical reasons, even though you're not leaving Belize, the physical border, that is the last control point for the immigration, for them to control who is entering and who is exiting Belize. So once you pass that point, they have no control over whether you enter into the other country. And you must balance it with your right to freedom to leave a country, must be balanced with the right to enter another country. So you can't just have the right to leave.
That's
without having
why
right
the
to
other
enter.
country has an immigration.
Yes, but the government's now obligation is to ensure that those who are leaving through regular immigration process. That's their contention.
As what happens
That's
at
a
airports.
colonial law.
As what happens
That's a
at
colonial law.
airports.
Well, it's been bring back right now through all these anti-terrorism, anti-money laundering, anti-smuggling,
All right.
human smuggling.
Okay, thank you. We're going to go to a quick ad break. And when we come back, we're going to start receiving the calls. Stay tuned.
Come and dine at our Belizean-owned restaurant for your hunger cravings. We offer a variety of fried and grilled finger foods and local dishes. We also do catering and host small socials and children's parties. Enjoy a relaxing and safe environment with your family and friends at affordable prices with excellent customer service. We are located at Mile 1 on the Philip Golson Highway across from Gonzalo Quinto and Sons. Call us at 667-2200 for orders and deliveries. Cravings, where patience equals fresh food.
Buying or selling land can be a daunting experience. Don't leave things to chance. When buying or selling land in Belize, seek the professional real estate services of Moya Shepherd and Company Limited. Benefit from our extensive local and international real estate network to find your dream home or to move your property from selling to sold. We are located at 5 miles Philip Golson Highway. Give us a call at 223-4465 or visit us at www.realestatebz.com.
The circle starts with solid support and a smile. This is real life. With its ups and its downs. This is going the extra mile. And the feeling you get when you can help someone along their journey. Through the twists and turns, we're here. This is Western Union, making sure your support reaches its destination. This is Western Union, moving money for better.
I am your host, Zenaida Moya, and again, we have with us guests, Mr. Rene Coyo and Giovanni de la Fuente, Lieutenant Colonel Raymond Shepherd, retired, and Dr. Glenn Errington. Again, the lines are open, 302-2170. Go ahead, caller.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yes, hello.
Yes, you're on. You're live.
Am I on the air?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think quite a lot has been established here tonight. Very interesting discussion, but I think one of the things that we don't want to lose focus is the fact that I get the sentiment that these gentlemen are fighting for the way how they treat us in our own countries.
Yes.
You understand? They treat you like alien in our own country.
Yes.
I mean, I can understand Mr. Harrington's point. I can understand the gentleman beside you and quoting the laws. And one of the things about the laws that if you're not really strong enough to study the law, you're crazy because they tell you to do this and you can't do it at the same time.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by I think it's established. I learned tonight that the gentleman is saying the passport not only mean that the booklet passport means a social security card, who ID as a passport to pass the border, and then but they don't want to accept that. I mean, the points raised here tonight is very interesting. I think the topic is too big for the time span of the show. Example, you go into hello?
Yes, we're right here.
Yeah, you go into Chedamal. You have a sick person, or you going to see the doctor. You have your Mexican credential. You forget your passport, and because this officer had a bad day, he tell you can't go to Chedamal. Now the question is he working for Belize or is he a Mexican immigration to tell you can't enter Mexico? We know they talk about casino. Let's go forget casino. We talk about immigration stopping you from going to Chedamal because you don't have a passport, but yet you have a ID, like Mr. Shepard said, the ID showing about the face and your ID and your Belizean. You got a Mexican pass, you look at pass, I could go in at Chedamal, but I just forget my Belize. You can't go. Turn back. You can't go. I mean, they think they're wrong. I mean, when they come back, I learned the other day, I may feel so down and out when I open my passport and the stamp in there, they say visitors, visas. Me, I don't know bloody alien to make you put no visitor visa. Me, they come home.
Yep.
How you want to put a stamp with a visitor visa in my passport? That's wrong. That thing wrong. And then, no, because some people stand up my voice. Listen, it's a pity, maybe because of the first show, but, open up Pandora's box here. If you get a story of how much people have been locked up and charged and harassed because they don't want to stamp. If I don't stamp, they go to Chedamal, and I get in an accident over there, how the hell that stamp will help me get out of problem? I can understand all the agreement and everything with the gentleman to your far left
Mr. Shepard, yeah.
I can understand all that, but you know what? They belong to how they treat we in our own country as a believer. You could talk about the border checkpoint. Technically, the borderline in middle of the Rio Hondo River. Me no want to hear nothing about section. This is section 2559. Mile border in middle of the Rio Hondo River. So, yes, they have a border checkpoint. I have the border management, the immigration have all rights, I believe, to ask me for an ID. If they say I feel that I don't look like a Belizean or I look fishy, let them do their job. But other than that, don't stop me from going to a casino where they're within Belize. Then Mr. De La Fuente was bringing up a very good point when you showed the video. He was saying, all right, fine. When these Mexicans cross the bridge into Belize territory after the line of the Rio Hondo River, there is no immigration there to check them going into the free zone. I don't know what kind of treating they got, but if you could recall, that is the reason why they caught the drug lord at the Princess Hotel with all the guns and the cocaine and the bullets and all of that.
Exactly.
Why? Nobody there to check the man.
And with that, you'll notice that they did not charge him for illegal entry into Belize because he did not pass the entry point as it.
I agree, but then I agree with that.
But the stamp has nothing to do with it. That's intelligence.
Right,
Intelligence may take a man, right?
I'm saying is that if the border was there at the bridge where the Princess building is at the moment, then we know for sure he can't cross the border with all and going on. So, but that's beyond the point. The point is that for me, what the law said, what the law quote. But for me, as a Belizean, Belize in middle of the Rio Hondo River, and I think I, as a Belizean, should inform the immigration sir, I am going to the casino. Are you a Belizean? Yes, sir. Do you have an ID? Sure. See, you have a wonderful time. If I want to go to Chetamal, that is none of their business.
All right.
That's between you and the Mexican, right?
Exactly, that's between me and the Mexican. If they won't allow me to go cross the border in a foreign country, that's for their business. You as an immigration officer, nigga, you know business if I want to go there. You can't stop me from going to Chetamal if I don't fall under the criminal acts of or whatever enemy they read with you know why you shouldn't go. You know if it stop me, man. You know, you work for Mexico, I believe, but gentlemen, keep up the fight, and I think that it's a good thing, and at the end of the day, let us not forget, it's all about how they treat us in our own country. Thank you.
Thank you. Brother. Okay, what I'm gathering, gentlemen, is that this law, whatever law is in place that regards this, you know, even arresting of people and all those things. I mean, clearly something needs to be done. It's in the courts. It's in the courts right now. But I mean, we didn't touch fully on the fact that we have area representatives. We have area representatives. What can they do? Good night, caller. You're online.
Yes, good night.
Good night.
I am available for John.
Yes.
Obviously, we have a big problem at the board. Yes. Good night, Ms. Moya.
Yes, good night.
Good night, Ms. Moya.
Good night. Good night, I'm hearing you. Oh, please lower your television.
This problem can be rectified easily.
Yeah.
Yes, Ms. Moya.
Yes. Yeah. Turn on your television a bit, please.
I'm not near my television.
Yes.
I would think that we have a big problem at the board there. This be easily rectified.
Yes.
What we need to do is closer to the river, near to the Mexican immigration point, just like we have it at the western border with Guatemala and Mexico, and just across the river we have the immigration point. That will solve the problem at the stamping, and then we can go to the casino, access it. We are in Belize, we are not leaving Belize. I think this is the easiest to solve this problem. You don't need to go to the soup.
I fully agree with you. I fully agree.
He was breaking up, but I think what he said was that this could easily be solved if they put the immigration office at the river.
At the river.
That's what I was saying from the answer.
I think I agree.
Yeah,
I think they built this immigration office at the wrong location to start with.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to initially when I said where it's at.
What Dr. Glenn said, the
question that I had and the point that I was trying to make, which I still think makes sense, but I'll follow this case very, very closely as it goes through the court, because only the courts are the competent authorities to tell us exactly what is constitutional or not, and to interpret this law. We have to hear what the court is saying, and it's interesting. It's a whole bunch of stuff. However, as an ordinary layman, the first thing that struck me when I heard about this case, especially when I heard that a casino was built after the border point, after the immigration in that area, that was before being used as the exit point for the country.
Yes.
Once you put a casino in there, you kind of mess up the geography, because strictly speaking, you want your exit point to be the most convenient point that is farthest from the rest of the country. You understand what I mean? So that you're as close as you can to the international border.
Correct.
That is practical, because you can't really put the building in the middle of the river. So you want your office to be as close to the border as you can. However, if you have a piece of property where you have your custom house and your immigration offices, and then sometime and even your free zone adjacent to that, Because they are kind of tied. If you know, customs free zone has to do with the laws and the taxes and all of that kind of stuff. But if you have a casino built into that area later, that brings on a lot of problems.
But it's not only the casino, because from a economic point of view, I think the reason why they put it back is for not to hinder the entry of the Mexicans into the free zone.
Exactly.
Because once you put the immigration checkpoint closer, that means the Mexican will have to pass our immigration point, and that will be a contention for them.
Correct.
And that's the reason why they put it behind the entrance to the free zone.
The easiest way to fix the problem is to stop stumping people. That's the easiest way to fix it.
Yeah, and just require identification.
So your only contention is the stamping.
Require an ID. Good night, caller. You're online?
Yes, good night, ladies. This is Dylan Jules, the car.
Yes.
I'll give me name because what I'm about to say is real.
Yes.
I know this is not a political show and I don't want nobody to get confused. I just information or we need to get out. The border was closest to the bridge back in the days. But under the People's United Party, they sold the land for $10 to the free zone management, and before the ink could dry, they turned around and sold the land to the Princess people there to put up a casino there, and then they moved the border back way. Now you tell me that are not back way. So, Mr. Shepherd's explanation, I don't know if that is really the reason why the border gone back way, but that one big hustle gone on in a time that I give me name because I just want you to know that the media say it, and that is a fact. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
The easiest way to fix it, Ms. Moya, is to stop stumping people, because that creates the how you call it, the traffic jam, right?
Bottleneck.
Yeah, that's what cause it.
Yes.
And
that's from the 1980s. We have to get rid of this thing, man.
Yes.
The exit visa is an issue all over the world, and there are some cases internationally where citizens take their country to court and have won because it's a violation of access free movement for you to have to get an exit visa.
Only China does that, and
so
North Korea.
Pretty soon, I guess somebody will challenge that in the court.
So, Mr. Shepherd, you said that technically the foreigners aren't in Belize yet.
For the purposes of immigration, so an immigration officer can't go there and charge one of the Mexicans for illegal entry.
All right, so you said the immigration officer can't go there and charge one Mexican for,
because the Mexican
for being in Belize illegally.
Because the Mexican have not had the opportunity to present
their
documents to the immigration officer.
So technically you're saying like they haven't entered Belize yet.
Correct, from an immigration point of view.
Well, I'll try wrap my mind around that, but may I ask you this now? Certain Mexicans have a valid permit to carry a weapon, and this Mexican enter that area now. Is he under the jurisdiction of Belize?
For purposes of sovereignty, and that is one of the reasons why the government has the obligation to protect you. So they are saying that once you move that past the border point, we cannot guarantee your safety. We will not put police there to police and.
But police go in there. Police go in there.
But not
fire station in there. Police, everybody is there.
Police put checkpoint in there.
Police, they're right there, boss man.
To exercise sovereignty. But to enforce the civil law, they cannot basically stop a Mexican and say,
so
give me your document.
As a Belizean now, I go into that area and I have a weapon on me, and I don't have a valid permit. How that work out now? Listen, as a Belizean, I am in that area now where you say technically so and so, and I have a weapon on me, but I don't have a permit. How that one work out?
For the weapon?
Yeah, for the weapon.
Remember, we still have sovereignty over that area, so the police could still stop you and charge you for
unlicensed firearm.
Oh,
that's good. That's out of the question.
All right, cool.
What we are fighting is a stamp. Does this stamp makes you safer?
No,
does it do anything for you? Does it stop you from going anywhere?
The stamp is basically an exit visa.
Without exit.
So we need an exit visa.
Okay.
From a practical standpoint.
Okay, we're winding down, and so I want before I go ahead and do the thank yous, I want to give each of you chance to make your closing statement. I'll start with you,
okay.
Giovanni.
Well, Belizeans, I think whenever and wherever we see what we perceive to be injustices in our country, it's our duty to highlight it, show it out, and do something about it. And I encourage other Belizeans to do more than just being involved in talk shows and call-in shows. We need to move from this stage of being a group of people that are very good at talk shows, but we don't take the next step. Mm-hmm. This is Belize, and we need to take Belize into our hands. There are many issues affecting Belize as we speak, and let's make Belize a place for Belizeans, and don't expect foreigners to come here. And let's not wait for the foreigners to come in and have to show us what to do. This is our country, and this is just one small example of what's happening in Belize. Small group of people in northern Belize have decided that it's okay to produce an identification if you want to cross the immigration point, but it's not okay to ask for an exit stamp because we're not leaving Belize. So with that, that's all I have tonight.
You take this one last call. Good night, caller. Yes, good night.
That's a good statement that just make.
Yes.
The immigration border.
Yes.
When you go in, let's say like if I have a skirt, I could pass through. I could pass through because of skirt. But I noticed they asked for passport. Try like 2 times. I know that time in Belize on border they say you have to pass for your passport, right? Mm-hmm. But if you don't have a skirt, you can pass.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. And listening to a program that a good friend of Mr. Giovanni said.
Yes.
If you are Belizean, you can pass through. But then, like I tell you, you can pass through, like lot of immigration, they behave so. Let's say, if you put them, they say, the Bahama is fault. The Bahama has no fault. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well,
Freddie,
to me,
please.
Ms. Zenaida, I just hope the area representatives would look into this and go for it, because it would be something good for the whole of Belize, and it would make them look good too. And I hope we win at the Supreme Court level, so we can really call ourselves land of the free.
When does the court case?
The 22nd of February.
All right. So
Because if we lose it, let them remove land of the free and put land of the gods again, because we are being ruled by gods.
However, even beyond that, the area reps can do something, correct?
Oh, yes, I agree. And
I want that to be your closing shot.
Yes,
what
the area reps, I mean, when you talk to the area reps, they will look at it, and if they believe that enough people are not in agreement, they could take that up and they could actually take it to the House. They have to do their caucusing and their calling around and working on it before. And they could amend the law. They have the power to do things like that. However, this case is a little bit complex. It's interesting that the problems that we face as human beings, whether it's the crime situation, which are things that individuals are doing, the second to last caller mentioned that some kind of wheeling and dealing caused this problem. I look at a lot of these issues in the news, whether it's a super bond, whether it's the money that we have to pay outside, whether it's a problem we have on our borders, the claim unfounded, something I totally don't believe in. But there were times, and we have to be honest to ourselves as honest, fair Belizeans, a partisan. Sometimes when you discuss these things, it doesn't have blue, red, or green.
Correct.
The Guatemala border doesn't have a color. sometimes our people who are in responsible positions do some things that are not so good and get us into trouble. So it could very well be that this location is one of these perfect examples. And that's why I think that during all the time I had traveled, I didn't even pay attention to stamps and all the stuff they used to do to my passport. They used to do a lot of stuff. You had to change passport. It's a nuisance to pay, I agree. But I still believe that somehow the country needs to know if a person is fit to travel, to make sure that that person can enter other countries, that they have to do their documentation, that they have international obligations to meet local obligations. So all of those things are okay. But if we believe, or any individual or group believe that something is not the way they think it should be, like the stamp is a big problem, then there are ways, like I said, going through the legislator or going through the courts. And so I will follow this. It makes very interesting for observation. So thanks to everybody who was out there. Thanks to the people who calling in. They were good. I enjoyed the callers. And thanks, I enjoyed being on the panel with you guys.
Excellent. Mr. Shepherd?
Well, I'll say the relationship between rights and obligation, between what is normal and what is the exception, must be carefully balanced in view of the international obligations we have. As we see that the same articles that provide us with the freedom of movement provides the state with the freedom to make restrictions on those freedoms. But those restrictions must be necessary, they must be reasonable. So it all boils down to whether the act of the immigration officer at the time, in the circumstances, was reasonable or not. And that is basically the crux of the matter, whether their action is reasonable or not.
Okay. All right. We've had a very interesting and informative show. I thank all our guests here on the panel tonight. You have made this show possible. I thank all of you, the viewers who are watching and who will be watching as well, because we will be repeating the show this Friday and Monday at 5 p.m. right here on North Vision. It will also be posted on the Zenaida Moya show YouTube channel. So for those of you who have access to computers, you can go ahead. You can also yes, YouTube. It's right on your phone. Most persons, I believe, have a phone in Belize. You can like the Zenaida Moya show Facebook page to share your comments, to also offer topics that you would like for us to discuss. We want to hear your views. We also want to thank our advertisers who have made this possible: Cravens Restaurant, Zitra International, Moya Shepherd and Company Limited, and of course North Vision. I also want to thank the production team for doing a wonderful job. This is our first show here on North Vision, and I believe it has gone well. And before I go, I want to thank my little son Kelvin and my daughter Natalia, who will be celebrating her second birthday this Friday, January 13th, and to the rest of my family and friends for inspiring me to do this show. All Belizeans, this show is for you. Be a part of it. Inform us of the topics that you would like discussed. We do have a number of topics. We have some of them that we will be discussing, and I know Dr. Glenn Errington, we've already discussed about the ICJ. We have to discuss that. I know, Giovanni, you're not too keen on that issue. We may have to ask that you come back on the show if possible. We'll also be selecting other persons, but that's another topic. We also have other topics. I mean, there's a list of them that we have to discuss. Proportional representation. That's another big issue that we have to discuss. We're very keen on ensuring equity and fairness, and there was also someone informed us actually right here from Orange Walk about the sin taxes, about the fact that there have been continuous increases on fuel, levied on fuel, taxes on fuel, but the prices on the liquor, tobacco, sodas, soft drinks as well, and those types of things have been going down. So why not increase the taxes on those bad habit items, or what you call sin taxes, and take down the taxes on fuel so that we have cheaper goods and, more businesses can prosper. Unionism, that's another issue. They've asked about the GST, and there's other issues that have been asked about, the dual citizenship, whereby we have our Belizean Americans and the diaspora in general who would want to also serve in the House of Representatives, but not give up their U.S. citizenship. So there's other topics. We're gonna have to touch on some of these, but next week I want to ask that you join us right here on Norte Vision. Watch the repeat if you want to. It's gonna be this Friday at 5 p.m. and again on Monday at 5 p.m. So next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m. right here on Norte Vision. Until then, have a safe and blessed week. God bless you all.